What's up? It's Zuri with another movie review for Incarcerated Doll Faces. Today I'm going to be reviewing How to Make a Killing, the 2026 dark comedy thriller written and directed by Patton Ford. This movie stars Glenn Powell as Beckett Redfellow and Margaret Qualley as Julia Steinway. It also features some other familiar faces like Topher Grace and Ed Harris. So let's get into it. Our main character is Beckett Redfellow, and he is a shunned heir to a massive fortune, but there are 7 other Redfellows in line who stand to inherit that fortune before he can. When we first meet Beckett, he is nestled away in a jail cell talking to a priest. He is wearing an eye mask. He looks very comfortable. And we will come to know that Beckett can be comfortable anywhere. Beckett is really someone who just makes the best of his circumstances. He doesn't do a lot of complaining or whining. He just does what he has to do. And it looks like he has gotten himself on death row and he is just feeling real cozy and nice there. Beckett starts by telling the story of how he is feeling cozy and nice at his job. He works at a suit, I don't think it's a tailor, it's actually like a clothes store in Manhattan for men. And he is enjoying that job. It's not the best job in the world, but he's comfortable. He's good at it. He likes waiting on people and making them feel nice in nice clothes. He also lives in New Jersey, where he's raised, and he's in an apartment that's not the best apartment, but it actually doesn't seem to suck that bad. It's a small apartment, even though he's not in the city. He is city adjacent, so it's probably not ideal living, but for a single man, I think he's doing pretty well. And as I said, Beckett loves his job, but he comes upon two unfortunate events that really change his outlook. So, number one, he is approached by his supervisor who tells him they have to let him go. In a sense, they offer him another job in New Jersey, but it's not comparable. There is some nepotism going on at the company, and somebody's nephew or grandson needs a job, and they're being given Beckett's job. And Beckett's encouraged to go work at the warehouse in Jersey since it's closer to his house, or, he can just cut his losses. Either way, the job's going to someone else. That's really disappointing because, it's something that he's good at. It's something that he's comfortable with. And he doesn't know what he's going to do without a job. Beckett is not terribly concerned with the inheritance. He does keep up with whether or not he has anything coming his way, but he's not obsessed with it. He's not sitting back waiting to get rich. He's not, chasing down the red fellows about what he deserves. He's really just making do with life and understanding that, hey, he's not one of them. However, the second thing that happens is when Beckett's at work, his childhood crush walks in. Her name is Julia Steinway. He's been in love with her since he was a little boy. One thing about Beckett is his mother, even though she was raised as a rich woman, he was not. When she got pregnant with Beckett, she was basically given an ultimatum. She could choose not to have him and stay in the family, or she could leave, but she wouldn't be able to reap the benefits of being a Redfellow. And so Beckett's mother chose to leave. And even though she didn't have all the money and the riches and the access and the wealth, she tried to raise Beckett to fit in with rich people. So she would put him in archery and different kind of, things where he would be able to schmooze with the future of society. And so this is where he meets Julia Steinway, and he brags to her as a little boy, hey, look, I might not be all that right now, but one day I'm going to have all this money. I'm going to inherit it. I'm going to be rich, and you're going to want me. Julia walks into his job, and Julia sees him working. He's not super embarrassed, but I think he would have rather her see him a different way. And then also waiting outside for her is her fiance, who's got all this money as well. So it leaves him feeling a little inferior for a second there. So that feeling combined with him losing his job really triggers something in Beckett. Beckett's mom told him once, "Promise me you won't quit until you get the right kind of life." His mom, even though she kind of took the high road for a second, she still really believed that Beckett deserved to be above. He deserved more. He deserved everything that she was given as a child, and she wanted him to go after it. When Beckett loses his job, when Julia walks into his job, he says, "This is my chance. I'm going to get after it. I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get to it by any means necessary." And around the same time that Beckett is formulating his plan of, how he's going to get the right kind of life, Julia is finding out that her husband doesn't have all the money that he claimed to have, and that she's looking down the barrel of poverty herself. And so she sets her eyes on Beckett because she knows Beckett has a thing for her. And she says, "I'm going to seduce this man. I'm going to, encourage him to go after what he deserves. And then it's going to become mine." So that's what she does. She tries to seduce him, but it doesn't quite work. Beckett is not a 6-year-old little boy anymore. Even though he has a curiosity about Julia, he's not drawn to her in the same way that he was as a child. So trying to seduce him doesn't really work for Julia. So she goes as far, she's like, "I'm going to blackmail him. He's going to get that inheritance, and then I'm going to get that inheritance." She is the most ambitious person here, because I think this movie has a lot of greed, but not a lot of ambition. Or I should say, Beckett has a lot of greed, but not a lot of ambition. Beckett kind of formulates this half-hearted plan to get the right kind of life. But he just doesn't seem really that interested in going through with it. He doesn't seem that interested in the payoff of it all. But again, he lost his job, so I guess he just has nothing else to do. So he's just entertaining himself with this plan to get the Redfellow fortune. Let me talk a little bit about Beckett's privilege. This movie hates Beckett. This movie drags Beckett through the mud from the time he is conceived. He is shunned, he is stepped on, he is losing family members, he is just going through it. It's hard. But Beckett is no Anthony Curtis. Anthony Curtis, let me tell you about Anthony Curtis. Anthony Curtis did 2 tours in Vietnam, 2. Came home broke. No job, no prospects, nobody want to hire him. His mama tripping. Find out he got a baby. He already knew he had a baby. But he go try to be a daddy to the baby and get with his baby mama. End up with another baby on the way. And then it's a pimp tormenting him outside his house every night of the week. Anthony Curtis had it bad. Beckett Redfellow didn't have none of this going on. Beckett Redfellow was doing just fine. And Beckett Redfellow would have continued to do fine. But when he starts to set his plan in motion, Beckett is able to walk into these parties, walk into these spaces, get on these yachts, because he looks the part. No one is like, "Who are you? You're out of place." Nobody is worried about where he is or where he should be. Beckett looks the part. And when he introduces himself to the other Redfellows, they embrace him. His uncle gives him a job in finance immediately. Immediately offers him a job. Says, "Yeah, you're my sister's kid. Hey, I owe it to you. Here you go." His cousins are thrilled to see him. They're not like, "Oh my God, somebody else I got to split my inheritance with. He's not one of us. He's of the poor Redfellows." No, everybody is happy to see him. They embrace him. And basically, they open themselves up and what they have to Beckett. They break bread with him immediately. Beckett ain't down bad. And it comes to a point where Beckett's actually talking to the priest in his jail cell. And the priest said, "At this point, why wasn't this enough? You got everything you need, son. You got everything you wanted. You got more. You got more than you even ever attempted to dream of. You were content with how things were before. You're doing better, but you can't let it." Anyway, I say all that to say Beckett would have been fine. He was a privileged young white man, and though he might not have been rich, he was rich adjacent. So things weren't going that bad for him. Another thing about Beckett that honestly should speak to a little bit of maybe how he is, because like I said, the movie hates Beckett. The movie also wants you to hate Beckett. Probably, hopefully, that's why they kind of make his privilege so blatant and like saying like none of this is necessary. They want you to hate Beckett. And the way that Beckett kind of talks about a little bit of stuff kind of shows you a little bit that he's a little bit off, but he doesn't move throughout the movie like that. Even with everything that he loses, all the L's that he takes, he seems unaffected by it. Aside from his predisposition to murder, Beckett is well adjusted. He is level headed and he is down to earth. So much so that when Julia shows her crazy, he recognizes it right away and says, hey, want no parts of that. So he is really well adjusted considering the things that he's been through and the cards that he's been dealt, juxtaposed to the right kind of life. The movie hates Beckett. The movie wants us to hate Beckett. But the people in the movie are in love with Beckett. They are constantly falling in love with him in one sense or the other. So I don't want to give too much away about that because that really affects how different things unfold in the movie. But I do want to point out that this, again, is a dark comedy thriller. So it is funny. And it has a lot of funny one-liners. One of my favorites is a one-liner that comes from Beckett's cousin. Now, this particular cousin refuses to call Beckett by his name. Yes, he does. He does welcome him into his home. He does break bread with him, but he refuses to learn his name. And he has this amazing apartment that I love, but it's one of those apartments in New York that's meant to look like poverty, but is quite the opposite. And he fancies himself an artist and all of that, the cousin does. And he signs an autograph for Beckett that says, "To Bagel, love White Basquiat." And that doesn't sound that funny coming out of my face. I recognize that. But it's hilarious in the movie. And there are a lot of other one-liners like that. So if you can stick with it, you'll enjoy those moments. And to that point, this movie has a good payoff if you can stick with it. However, in order for you to get the essence of all the people that are falling in love with Beckett, there's a lot of nothing conversation going on. There's a lot of dialogue that is just long and drawn out as people try to get to know Beckett, as they share parts of themselves with him. But it's to make you see them kind of gradually just kind of like eating out of his hands, even though I don't think he's necessarily trying to completely swindle these people. He's not like trying to manipulate them emotionally in this way, but they are just drawn to him nonetheless. So it's a lot of conversation going on that offers much opportunity for like tuning the movie out. But if you can fight through those moments, you will laugh, you will gasp a little bit. And so that's the enjoyable part of the movie. So I say all that to say, my official rating for this movie is it is clever. It may not be a totally original thing. I do think this movie is based on a foreign story or a foreign film, but I do love the premise. I think even though it may not be original, it is unique. And I also love the way the movie tries to wiggle out of its own premise. You get to this point when you see like this Gatsby-esque Beckett and everything has kind of come together one way or the other, and then it all falls apart. It's kind of like watching Fury Road, like everything just kind of unravels piece by piece. And so I think that's really interesting. And again, that all feeds into my rating of it's clever. The one-liners, it's clever. And one of my favorite things about this movie is it's totally rewatchable. But it also puts me in the mind of other movies. Right off the bat, you can probably tell that it made me want to watch Dead Presidents. I immediately started thinking about Anthony Curtis and all of his hardship when I was watching Beckett act like he had to get it by any means necessary. I was like, I gotta go watch Dead Presidents. Awesome soundtrack, by the way. We won't get into that right now. But yeah, that movie, as well as Ready or Not. Ready or Not is also a dark comedy. It's a dark comedy horror. And the huge rich family with all this wealth that has all of these big personalities that just won't die, that put me in the mind of Ready or Not. And I love Ready or Not. I think it's an enjoyable movie. So I was like, okay, that's next on the list. I got to run that back as well. And then another movie that kind of came up for me while watching this, oddly enough, Wolf of Wall Street, because Wolf of Wall Street honestly makes murder feel like a better option than like cheating old people out of their money. Like I feel like Jordan Bell, and we know Jordan Bell was a real person. I feel like Jordan Bell was way worse than Beckett Redfellow. And maybe he was. Maybe cheating old people out of their money is the ultimate sin. Who knows? But it really was like, I need to go watch Wolf of Wall Street because this movie wants me to hate Beckett, but there's some real evil out here that we need to address. And I want to address it with Jordan Bell. So that is my review of How to Make a Killing. Again, I rated it. It's clever, and I hope you'll go watch it. I hope you'll come back and let me know your favorite one-liner, if this movie made you think of any other cool movies, and any other thoughts you had about How to Make a Killing. This is Zuri for Incarcerated Doll Faces. I look to see you next time.